Welcome to another edition of Hey Bobby with Vice President of the Cleveland Indians, Bobby DiBiasio, kind enough to give us his time each week during the baseball season. Talk a little baseball in general. And of course, Hey Bobby is brought to you by NECA-IBEW. Bobby, I guess first of all, let's talk about the stadium. As you know, 3 of the 4 weekends in the month of July, people are going into the ballpark and they're taking in the Cleveland Indians. And you have been in every nook and corner of Progressive Field since it was built. And I thought maybe you could reflect a little bit, no matter if you're out in left field in the bleachers or in the right field corner. I know obviously the closer you get is the better, but what are some of your favorite vantage points of watching the game as people get their tickets and come to the ballpark?
Ray, I think one of the things you just mentioned there may not be as true as people think. You don't necessarily need to be in the front row for a baseball game, and that all depends on how you go and your own personal preference on how you view a baseball game. I actually like to watch a baseball game a little elevated. So you can see all 9 guys on the field moving around. When the ball's hit, every guy on the diamond has a place to be, and the guys running the bases. And the closer you get, that you lose a little bit of that. So I like, if you're in the lower bowl, instead of being really down low, being up at the back end of the lower bowl. Gives you that perspective of all the action that's happening once the ball's put in play. Um, Having said that, it's pretty interesting. We're one of the few that have dugout suites, field level suites. If anybody ever had an opportunity to get invited to one of those, it's actually
Yes, thank
closer.
you.
Yeah, it's actually closer to the batter than the pitcher. It's a 55 feet distance from the dugout suite to home plate. And then, of course, pitcher's mound 60 feet, 6 inches. So you really get a sense of the pure power and speed of the game of baseball when you sit that close. Um, but the seats right in front of our new bullpen, when we redesigned the center field area, and we took our bullpen and the visitors from right field and ours and stacked them. We put a couple rows of seats right in front of the bullpen area. They are as good a seat because they are elevated. They're sitting on top of the fence. You can hear the power of the bullpen guys warming up, throwing their 98 miles an hour, and to be that close to that, to hear the ball and the pop of the glove is pretty wild. And then the incredible view you have of the ball field right in front of you. Um, we always like to say there's not a bad seat at Progressive Field. Um, but again, it's your preference. What do you like?
Mhm.
And I happen to like to be elevated a little bit so I can, once that ball's put in play, you get to see everybody do what they're supposed to do.
I'm not sure what they are called now. They used to be the club seats. And again, it depends on what your price range is and how many times you're going to the ballpark. But if you're going to a limited time, Bobby, that was my favorite seat, was where you were elevated right there on that first base side. You could see everything like you were talking about. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't get inside that ballpark and look for a good vantage point to take in the scoreboard. And that viewpoint right there on that club seat level, you're elevated, which I like. I'm very much like you, and you're looking right at that scoreboard. That's probably my favorite place. You got me on to something though about in front of that bullpen. I love that idea. I haven't thought about that, but you're exactly right. I love those club seats. Are they still called club seats, or do they have a different title now?
No, the Discount Drug Mart Club,
Yeah.
we renovated it, took a lot of the posts down, opened it up. So there's more of a wonderful feeling from inside and outside. Obviously, it's also the all you can eat um, package is involved in the Discount Drug Mart Club. Um, non-alcohol, but Brew Kettle has a nice bar inside if you need to purchase a libation. But it really is one of the best values. You could go to Indians.com and purchase Discount Drug Mart tickets on a per game basis. And it is one of the best plays. You're right. The view of the scoreboard and being, again, elevated, and then not having to worry about, food choices. There's restrooms there. It really is a wonderful way to watch a ball game.
We're talking with Bobby DiBiasio, Vice President with the Cleveland Indians. Another edition of Hey Bobby, brought to you by NECA-IBEW. Bobby, let's go on to the baseball field right now. We're almost at the halfway point. I think next week you and I can talk a little all-star game and all-star history and progressive field and all that stuff. But here we are heading to the all-star break. Cleveland Indians second position in the American League Central, and as banged up as we are, if you look at the glass half full, like I like to do, we are going to have all three of those pitchers coming back, we hope, for the months of August and September to make a run. How do you look at this team heading into July, trade deadline, and going forward with this team right now?
Well, it's amazing what a week will do, right? Just 3 months of really good baseball from the youngest team in the major leagues, and then all of a sudden decimated by injury to lose your entire starting rotation. I don't know how any ball club recovers from something like that, and then all of a sudden top it off that we lose Jose Ramirez during the Houston Astros series, and we've said it I don't know how many times. As Hosey goes, we go. And we were 5 for 35 with runners in scoring position in that series against Houston. And I guarantee you that Jose Ramirez would have made a positive impact in a lot of those situations if he would have been able to play. And so that Houston series would have gone a whole lot different. Last night, you saw the impact that he made getting back in the lineup in Tampa. We drop an 8 spot, and all of a sudden, one of the best bullpens in baseball just has one of those hiccup nights that we can't close the door. So getting our rotation back, I think, is the key. Zach Plesac will start Thursday as we have our final homestand. As we head into the All-Star break, Kansas City comes in for 4. Zach will pitch Thursday, then he'll go to Goodyear for a rehab start, and then meet the team in Oakland as we open the second half of the season on the West Coast, going to Oakland for 3, and then head to Houston for 3 before we come back home at the end of the month for a home stand against Tampa Bay. So we really need to get our rotation back. We've asked way too much of a whole lot of young pitchers. They're getting tremendous opportunity. They're getting tremendous opportunity to learn who they are and what they need to do to be effective at the big league level. But we would prefer to have the rotation that we thought we would have for the 6-month season back in place. As we get that rolling, I think we're obviously a much different baseball team.
Critical time of the season too, right, my friend? You've got the All-Star break coming up, but you have the Royals later this week, then the break. And as you mentioned, the rest of the month of July has Oakland, has Houston, has the White Sox, and the Rays. I mean, critical time for us. You're exactly right, Bobby. We need those front 3 back.
Yeah, we do. We've had a really good record in 1-run games, and that's simply because of our bullpen. And the last 3 games we've lost have all been 1-run games. So that means either you didn't get the big hit when you needed it, or you put yourself behind in like last night. Logan Allen gives up the grand slam, but then the team just decided, hey, there's no quitting us. Let's keep it going. And they got an 8 spot on the board, normally you're going to win. The Indians win when you have an 8 spot on the board, and it just wasn't there for us. And when you're going through some tough times, you find different ways. We're not playing real crisp defensively. Um, we've got to be a little obviously more consistent with runners in scoring position. But what I saw when Jose Ramirez is back in the lineup with Franmil Reyes being back and healthy from his stint on the injured list, with Bobby Bradley in the lineup and Harold Ramirez and Ahmed doing his thing. Eddie was hitting. Now it looks like he might go on the IL, unfortunately. But I really wanted to see how this lineup, once they all got healthy and back together, it certainly was lengthened out. And we just need to get healthy.
Yeah, Hammy talked about that on the broadcast last night. We finally get the length of the lineup we've been wanting for quite some time, and then Eddie Rosario leaves the lineup. Okay, Bobby, as we wrap up this week, let's talk about the American League right now. Boy, you look out west, and you've got Houston, you've got Oakland, and Seattle's about a 500 club. You look in the central, you got the White Sox and the Indians. Detroit, heck, in their last 14 is 10-4. They're playing much better. And then you go to the east, where you've got Boston, who no one is talking about. And Boston is just ripping the hide off the baseball. And then you've got this Rays team that finds a way to win. The young Toronto Blue Jays are slugging the living daylights out of the baseball. Yankees are floundering, but they're still an obstacle for many teams going forward. The American League may be as deep, Bobby, I wanted your opinion on this, as maybe we've seen in quite some time.
Well, there's no question that it's deep, and we're right in the mix. When we're healthy, we're right in the mix with all of those ball clubs for sure. Boston's probably the biggest surprise of the season with the way they have taken over the American League East. I think on the flip side, the Yankees might be the biggest disappointment from the beginning. Doesn't make any of us feel sorry for them, obviously. But no one had the Boston Red Sox winning the American League East, as it was another year of development for that baseball team. And they got off to a great start, and they're clicking and playing very well. Houston, who we just saw, pretty darn good lineup, obviously. They play good defense on that baseball team. But again, we were 5 for 35 or something like that with runners in scoring position. We get a couple extra hits and we're right there with them. And in a 4-game series, I don't think we get swept if one swing of the bat goes our way. And we have Jose Ramirez in those games, be honest with you. Oakland always finds themselves, us, Oakland, Tampa, we do things a little bit different. We have to with the economic realities of the game of baseball. And we always seem to be in the fight with some of the big boys like the Yankees and Red Sox and Chicago and such, and Houston. It's going to be interesting how this whole thing, for those that are wondering, we're back to the 2019 format, the normal format for postseason. Where only 2 wild card teams get in, and not the expanded playoffs that were in place last year. So we've got our work cut out for us.
Bobby, and one final note this week, and it hasn't been talked a whole lot about, certainly on the eastern part of our country, because he plays out west. I think one of the best stories in baseball this year, and really needed it too, is Shohei Otani. The way this guy is an all-star pitcher, hitter. We haven't seen this in 100 years.
Right.
This guy is a show, and baseball needed something like this. Talk about what he's brought to the game this year, Bobby.
Well, and you're not overstating it when you said we haven't seen this in 100 years. That's not cliche. That's fact. I mean, we haven't not seen this in 100 years of baseball since Babe Ruth, where a starting pitcher had led the league in home runs. I just awesome that baseball is allowing this young man, and Kevin Cash is obviously the manager of the American League All-Star team, and he's asked Tito to be one of his coaches, and Tito was so very appreciative and excited and honored to be part of it. But Kevin Cash has had conversation with Joe Madden, the manager of the Angels, trying to figure out how do they get Shohei on the mound and at the bat in the All-Star game to do both. And so when baseball does that, it's a remarkable story. And it also shows you, when this kid came over from Japan, he struggled out of the box. He was a little bit injured here and there trying to do both. And all of a sudden, a young athlete, it clicks. And when it clicks for the superstar athlete, which he is, the way he can hammer a baseball with that effortless swing, it's a sight to see. And another guy that throws in the high 90s. Pretty remarkable that a guy can throw a ball as hard as he can hit a ball, the 100-mile-an-hour. But so the All-Star game is going to have so much fun with just that story. But without question, Ray, it is the story of 2021 in Major League Baseball is what Shohei Otani is doing, because there's nothing like him in 100 years.
And baseball, I think, really needs Shohei Otani as well. I think he has been a great shot in the arm for our game that we love. Bobby, thanks, my friend, for visiting with us again. We'll catch up with you again next week. Always appreciate the time. It's called Hey, Bobby, brought to you by NECA-IBEW. Bobby, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Ray. Take care, buddy. Go Tribe.